Look at him, too nervous to eat meat. Can't even get the food in this thing right. The spoon almost missed his mouth.
Imagine a night when two of the world's most formidable fighters clash in an unprecedented bout, leaving fans frustrated and angry. The match between Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki wasn't just a fight. It was two different fighting worlds colliding in what was billed as the first MMA match. For 15 boring rounds, Ali circled the ring with one hand on the ropes while Inoki crawled like a crab, kicking Ali's shins, which resulted in bloody clots. Despite promising a lot, the fight delivered something unexpected, with fans demanding their money back. Before going into details of what happened that day, let's introduce our two fighters. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Ali, a world-famous boxer, had proven himself time and again in the ring with his poetic and brutal style. On May 25, 1976, Muhammad Ali had a busy year. It was 8 months after his epic final fight against Jose Frazier, the legendary Thrilla in Manila. Ali, now 33, hinted it might be his last year in the ring, but that didn't slow him down. In January of that year, he knocked out a Belgian boxer named Jean-Pierre Koopman in the 5th round. Then in April, he showed up a little, well, let's say heavier for his fight against Jimmy Young. That one went a surprising 15 rounds, which was a big surprise since Jimmy was a 15-1 underdog. Ali wasn't too thrilled with that wake-up call. So in May, Ali flew over to Munich to face off against Richard Dunn from Yorkshire, and this time, the knockout was in 5 rounds. There was no messing around. But after this fight, Ali was gearing up for his next super-duper fight. In a few days, Ali was setting off for Tokyo to face the towering Japanese wrestler Antonio Inoki. Inoki had free reign to throw karate chops, wrestling moves, and probably everything but the kitchen sink. Ali hyped him up as the most fearsome man in the whole wide world. This match was about to be one wild ride because when it came to Inoki, anything goes. The whole thing started in April 1975 when Ali met Ichiro Yada, the president of the Japanese Amateur Wrestling Association, at a fancy US reception. Now, Ali being Ali, he couldn't help but show off a bit. He asked Yada, "Isn't there any Oriental fighter who will challenge me? I'll give him $1 million if he wins." Japan went wild when this little challenge hit the headlines, and Antonio Inoki, a famous Japanese wrestler, stepped up.
And you should see every theater is going to be packed. They're going to be lined up. $100, $200, $300.
Eventually, Inoki's backers offered Ali a sweet $6 million, and by March 1976, it was official. Ali was heading to the Budokan in Tokyo for a June 26th showdown. Ali figured he had this in the bag. He imagined Inoki coming at him, and he'd just stick out his glove, jabbing from a distance. He told himself, "When I've jabbed him enough, I'll knock him out." Speaking of Inoki, this guy wasn't just some random wrestler. He was a legend in Japan. Back in the 1950s, pro wrestling was huge on TV, and Inoki was trained by the one and only Rikidozan, the father of Puroresu, or Japanese wrestling. Rikidozan himself was a national hero known for restoring Japanese pride after the war. His own story was something else. He tragically died after being stabbed with a, well, let's call it a less than clean knife by a gangster. But that's a story for another day. Rikidozan, Inoki's mentor, had this classic style in the ring that fans just ate up. He'd take on American wrestlers who were a little too comfortable breaking the rules. Chairs, dirty moves, you name it. These Americans went all out. But just when it looked like Rikidozan was down, he'd suddenly unleash a powerful Japanese move and show off his fighting spirit, winning every time. Fans went wild, and Rikidozan always ended up the hero. Inoki carried on that same spirit. The story was that Rikidozan discovered him working on a coffee plantation in Brazil as a teenager. According to Inoki, it was a rough life. In those days, it was like living as a slave, he told reporters before the big fight with Ali. "I struggled to eat, but such a life gave me the spirit to fight." That struggle, Inoki claimed, built him up for the battle he was about to face. By the 1960s, Inoki had risen through the ranks of Japanese pro wrestling. He got so big that he actually tried to take over the Japanese Wrestling Association in 1971 and ended up getting kicked out. But Inoki didn't care. He wanted bigger fights and bigger paychecks. That's when he came up with the idea of mixed martial arts fighting. Before Ali ever entered the picture, Inoki had already taken down a heavyweight judo champion, Wilhelm Ruska, who'd won a gold medal at the Munich Olympics. Inoki destroyed him with 3 brutal back suplexes in a row, knocking him out cold. Some folks thought the match might have been rigged since Inoki was a pro wrestler, but neither Ruska nor any of the other 20 guys Inoki fought in MMA ever claimed it was fake. Inoki was a powerhouse, plain and simple. And now, he was ready for Ali. When Ali arrived in Tokyo, the excitement was sky high. Tensions were still running hot between Japan and the US, partly thanks to Tricky Dicky Nixon's move in 1971 to take the dollar off the gold standard. That caused the yen to skyrocket and seriously hurt Japan's exports. Plus, the US had only given control of Okinawa back to Japan in 1972, so there was a lot of national pride at stake. Ali was stepping into more than just a ring. He was walking into a storm of nationalistic pride. And he made his arrival loud and clear. As he walked through the Tokyo airport, his crew, chanting and shouting, cut through the sea of photographers and fans yelling, "There will be no Pearl Harbor. Muhammad Ali has returned. There will be no Pearl Harbor." Subtle? Not even close. Tickets to see the match live at the Budokan were selling for a jaw-dropping 1,500 British pounds for the best seats. But the excitement wasn't just in Tokyo. In New York, Vince McMahon Sr. was broadcasting the match on closed-circuit TV at Shea Stadium, selling nearly 33,000 tickets at $10 each. They'd even set up a live fight between Chuck Wepner, who'd fought Ali the year before, and Andre the Giant to warm up the crowd. Meanwhile, fans around the world could watch the fight too, even at the Birmingham Odeon in England, where you could snag a seat for £5 or pay a bit more if you wanted to impress your date. When Ali and Inoki finally came face to face, Ali, ever the jokester, nicknamed Inoki the Pelican because of his, well, rather prominent chin. Inoki, calm as could be, stared right back and said through a translator, "When your fist connects with my chin, make sure your fist doesn't get hurt." Then, as if that wasn't bold enough, he handed Ali a crutch, saying he might need it after getting tossed out of the ring. Inoki didn't hold back when he warned everyone, "I don't know how seriously Muhammad Ali is taking this fight, but if he's not serious, he could get hurt. I'm fighting to win, I might even break his arm." What happened next is where it gets tricky, because nobody can quite agree on it. People still argue about whether Ali himself knew what he was getting into, but many are convinced his handlers knew it was a fix right from the start. The plan, some say, was that Ali would lose for a nice $6 million paycheck, of course. Ali and his team had signed up expecting just a lighthearted exhibition match, something to thrill the crowd but not actually serious. But then they went to see Inoki train, and wow. They watched Inoki breaking and bending sparring partners with brutal dropkicks and powerful grapples. That's when it started sinking in. This might be a real fight. Ali, probably half-joking, asked, "So when's the rehearsal?" Inoki looked him straight in the eye and replied, "No rehearsal. This isn't an exhibition, it's a real fight." Suddenly, the Ali camp went into a bit of a panic and started renegotiating the rules. They quickly agreed on a whole new list of restrictions for Inoki. He couldn't throw Ali, couldn't tackle him, and he wasn't allowed to kick unless he had one knee on the mat. The restrictions got so wild that it was barely even wrestling versus boxing anymore. Inoki couldn't leg dive or tackle, which for him was like telling Ali he couldn't throw a jab. A total mess. Ali's team even insisted that the detailed rules stay hidden from the public right up until the fight. Inoki's fans were sure the Americans had twisted the rules at the last minute to make sure Ali had the upper hand. The rules were so confusing by the end that no one could really make sense of them, and keeping them secret only added to the ridiculousness. This whole thing was turning into a multi-million-dollar joke, and the audience had no idea what they were about to watch. June 26, 1976. Fight night. The arena was buzzing, but honestly, nobody had a clue what was about to go down, even Ali. When the bell rang, the madness began, and what followed was nothing short of 15 rounds of slapstick comedy. Right as the bell finished echoing, Inoki shot across the ring like a cannonball and launched himself feet first at Ali in a crazy two-footed kick. Ali jumped aside, Inoki missed. He tried again, another wild kick, another miss, and suddenly, Inoki was flat on his back, looking like a fish flopping on the dock. And that's when the absurdity really kicked in. Inoki didn't even bother getting up. He just lay there, flat on his back, staring up at Ali with all the calm of a guy lounging on a beach. As Ali circled around, Inoki scooted on his butt, jabbing kicks at Ali's legs like a dog scooting on a carpet. This was his master plan against the rule changes. If he stayed down, Ali couldn't punch him. Genius or madness? You decide. Ali, confused and trying to make sense of it, tried throwing a few little toe pokes at Inoki's behind, but Inoki's feet kept flailing at him like a windmill on turbo. Ali hopped around, looking like a guy who stepped on a hot stove, trying to dodge Inoki's kicks. In the audience, jaws were dropping. Ali started strutting around, hands in the air, yelling and calling Inoki a coward. But Inoki was unmoved, perfectly happy on his back. By round 4, things were getting ridiculous. Inoki, still lying down, managed to trap Ali in a corner and went full bicycle mode, kicking like crazy at Ali's legs. Ali leapt up onto the ropes, legs tucked under him, shouting in disbelief. Then came round 6. Ali, clearly frustrated, tried grabbing one of Inoki's ankles, hoping to end the madness, but Inoki had other ideas. He twisted his legs around, flipping Ali to the ground, and then rolled over himself right on Ali and squatted on his face. It was a moment of pure, undignified chaos. Ali's first punch of the fight came right after that, probably fueled by pure irritation. What could Ali do against the guy who basically glued himself to the mat and kept aiming kicks at him? Ali shouted down at him, waving his arms and urging Inoki to fight like a man. But Inoki just stayed there, totally unbothered, the king of the canvas. By the 8th round, things had taken an even weirder turn. Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, stormed over to Inoki's corner and demanded they tape up the tips of Inoki's shoelaces. Why? Because one of his shoelace eyelets had popped loose and was slicing up Ali's leg. Ali's thigh had even started bleeding, and the announcer was doing his best to sell this strange scene as real drama. "It's hemorrhaging," he cried, trying to inject some intensity. Ali's corner looks worried. By the 10th round, Ali finally managed to throw his second punch of the fight. But by now, everyone watching figured they'd been sold a lemon of a match. This wasn't the battle of champions they'd been promised, it was more like slapstick theater. Then came the 13th round. Ali tried to speed things up and threw 2 punches, bringing his grand total to 6. That's right, 6 punches in a whole fight. At this point, he'd done more foot grabbing than actual boxing. Inoki even managed to trip Ali twice and kneed him once, causing Ali to climb out through the ropes, looking ready to call it quits and head home. The fight dragged on for all 15 rounds. Ali tossed out 6 punches total, while Inoki stuck to his butt-scooting, leg-swinging defense. Fans on both sides were furious. Inoki's supporters thought he had outsmarted Ali and the sneaky Americans. Ali's fans thought Inoki was just plain chicken. The crowd had had enough. People started throwing garbage into the ring, chanting, "Money back, money back." The cleanup crew at the Budokan had their work cut out for them. They spent nearly an entire day scooping up the trash that rained down on the ring as payback for one of the strangest, most disappointing quote-unquote fights in history. The fight, if you could even call it that, ended in a draw. Inoki had been 3 points ahead, but in a twist that seemed a bit too perfect, he was docked all 3 for fouls. This way, no one officially lost. Inoki could say he'd have won if not for the penalties, while Ali could argue that Inoki had cheated. But everyone could agree on one thing. The whole thing had been a colossal embarrassment. The only real win, both fighters were now a few $1,000,000 richer. Ali wasn't in great shape afterwards, though. He was set to fight Ken Norton in September, but Inoki's relentless leg kicks had left him with 2 nasty blood clots. Ali's legs were so swollen that he lay in bed with an ice pack strapped to his thighs. His doctor begged him to skip his upcoming exhibition fights in the Philippines and South Korea and go straight to the hospital. But Ali, stubborn as always, went ahead with the fights anyway. By the time he made it back to LA, he had to spend 2 weeks in the hospital. As for Inoki, he became a massive star in Japan after the fight. And funny enough, he and Ali became good friends. Inoki even started using Ali's theme song, The Greatest, as his own entrance music, and he adopted Ali's famous chant, "Bombaye" from the Rumble in the Jungle. What do you think about this match? How will you rate it in your own words? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe and stay updated on our next video.